Hello and welcome to Two Girls, One Pod. I'm Crystal.
And I'm Melissa.
And we are here today with Big Brother Canada 9 Final 3 contestant, Tera Gillen. We're so excited to have you on the pod.
I'm excited to be here.
Otherwise known as Trick Shot Tera.
Yeah.
Trick Shot Tera. Yeah.
Tiger Tera. How many
Tiger Tera. So I had no nicknames really going into the house, and I left with a few. Trick Shot Tera, Tiger Tera, and Mama T. So I came out with some names, and I like all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Which is good, right? Because you get branded with a nickname, you're happy with it. There's nothing worse than ending up with like a really shitty one.
The best part was, though, Tiger Tera happened when I won HOH. My dad called me Tiger Tera in my letter, and I was like, we were laughing so hard with the house guests. I was like, he's never called me that before in my entire life. So then it just stuck. Like everybody called me Tera the Tiger, Tiger Tera. And I was like, well, I guess thanks, Dad. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah. He's like, I've always wanted to start this nickname. I just kept
I was like, as soon as I saw him, I was like, that was funny.
So random too. Like,
yeah,
you never hear it, and then all of a sudden he's like in a letter as if he sent it to you every day since you were
yeah, everybody's like, oh, that's cute nicknames. Your dad always called you that. I'm like, never before in my life, actually.
Amazing.
That's too funny.
So have you since getting home, have you seen any of your episodes yet? Like, have you watched the show?
Yes, I've watched some of it, not all of it, but I have seen, I want to say like maybe like 60%. I haven't watched the whole thing start to finish. And I kind of like, I'm watching it on weird loops. Like I started working myself like backwards, forwards, and now I'm going back to some of the beginning stuff. So I'm all over the place with when I watch it.
That's so funny. Because like you're the third person we've interviewed from the house.
Yeah.
And every single one of you so far have said, no, I haven't watched it, or I've watched a little bit. Like, yeah. And we always talk about it. Like, I feel like I would have binged it immediately. I would have been like, what? How did I look on TV? Like, was I portrayed properly? Like,
it's so weird though, because you're in that house, especially, I was in there for 69 days, and that's all that, like, it just consumes you. So I think a lot of people don't watch it right away because they're like, man, that was just my life. I need to like get back to like real life before jumping back in. At least that's how it was for me. I was like, and then I think it's awkward to see yourself on TV. Yeah. Like sometimes you're just like cringe and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
It's an awkward thing.
If it was like an embarrassing moment or a moment where you felt like it wasn't really your finest moment, and then you're like, that was on TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I would have so many of those for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we do have a list of questions. Normally we would type them up, but we did have a little technical error today, I'm going to call it.
Problem.
We told you the wrong time that we were going to record, so we don't have it typed up. I do have a couple questions on my phone, but I think the biggest thing, and I've been trying to figure out, because I don't even know if it's a question, really, but I've been trying to figure out like the best way to say it. But like, as moms, so Crystal and I have, between us, we have 4 kids. Crystal's got 3, I've got 1.
Awesome.
And watching another mom dominate, like fucking dominate this game and be so powerful and so like who you were, I don't know, it shattered stereotypes. It broke the mold, honestly. And we were watching it like, I'm like, what is the best way to say this?
We were just so proud of you because we were sitting there as moms ourselves. And like, we all often have these moments of, we put ourselves on the back burner and we put our dreams on the back burner and all of those things just because we want to do what's best for our kids. Yeah. But what we saw from you was a woman who was taking charge of what she wanted to do with her life. And while her children were important, she made it known that what she wanted was important as well. And I can't even thank you enough for that. Yeah, honestly.
Like that's the best representation. It was just amazing because like, you don't feel heard all the time as a mom. Like you just don't. You're not like, I'm not Melissa anymore. I'm Scarlett's mom. Right. Like I think I said it to, I was telling Crystal, I said to my grandmother, I really want to try out for Big Brother and all this and I'm other people. And everybody always says, but what about the baby? What are you going to do with the baby? And I'm like, would you ask that to my husband? Because he's been working back and forth away. And nobody ever was like, well, what about the baby? And it's like, to see you go on knowing that you have kids, and it wasn't easy. You're not sitting there being like, this is so easy. It's such a vacation, but you're like, you know what I want is important too. They're safe, they're happy, and they're excited to see me. And we just thought you were such a great example for moms, for kids, like it was for living your dreams.
I loved representing the moms. So I don't know if you guys know, I'm kind of like an accidental mom. Like my son, when we had my son, he was a total like oopsie child. Okay. So we're just going to get real honest here. Me and he's my husband now, but at the time we were only dating for 3 months. And before becoming a mom, like I lived all over Canada. I'm very adventurous. Like I actually didn't even want children, but I feel like things happen for a reason. And when it happened, I was like, okay, like this is the universe saying that actually I should be a mom. And I love every aspect of my journey, but there is a part where you lose your identity and you lose yourself in this role, which is so beautiful. But I was really proud to be the mom that says, hey, you can be more than just this. You can also go out and do other things, and hopefully to inspire other moms, and then even to inspire my kids, you know, like you can be more than one thing. You can be good at more than one thing. You don't always just have to be labeled in one area of your life, which for us would be being a mom, which a lot of, you know, all of my friends, right? We're all moms. We all have kids. We all have similar struggles, like of all the balancing acts and kind of losing our purpose and who we are. So I loved rocking it out for the moms. Like I was like, I'm going to make these girls proud. Like moms are strong. We can do it. So it was an honor for me to be the mom in the house. Loved that role.
You kicked ass. You did such a great job. You were, final 3. And we were like doing polls. We were talking about you guys like the whole show. We were doing an after show, and like we were always like, if Tera gets that final seat, like that final 2 seats, there's a reason you got cut, girl. Because you would have. I think that you would have gave both the boys a run for their money. Yeah.
I knew like, especially at the end, when I came back from that battle back, I knew any way that I was getting, like, I had to bring myself to a final 2 situation. Like, I don't think there was anybody in that house that would have brought me. So it was like, I went as far as I possibly could on my own, which is another thing that also made me proud too, right? You know, nobody else brought me there. I literally went as far as I could go. I was really happy with the final 2 that were left. But I knew no one was going to take me. That's for sure.
You like, and how about the battle back, for instance, like when you realized that you were going to have to battle out this whole thing with Jed, were you like, oh shit, what's going to happen here?
So that whole moment was so crazy, because it was like, we had all come together to have this epic trapdoor plan to get out Jensen, right? Like,
I just have to say that was
the best TV.
Craziest.
I remember when it came up, I was like, well, I don't even think this is going to work, but I mean, sure, let's give it a shot, right? So when they immediately kind of like bamboozled me right afterwards, I remember like I had kind of known it was me and Beth on the block, and I'm like, they are totally going to snake me. I just did their dirty work for them. Like I just feel it in the air, right?
Bored. I did not. I thought they were going to get rid of Beth in that moment.
No, I know. And then when I went up and then I saw that sign, and I was like, I was like, wait a minute, I might have to go back in there with them, because I was mad. Like I didn't even say goodbye to anybody, because I was like, we just did an epic plan and you turned on me so quick, you know? And then to know that I have to go up against Jed, I was like, well, crap. Now I have to go, like Jed and like, they look like superheroes in real life. Like do you know what I mean? They're just huge, fierce physical competitors, where I don't think anybody thought that I was going to win that battle back. But I was like, well, you never count yourself out, and you never give up, and you just keep fighting. That's all you can do.
It was amazing. Like, so when you were in the HOH room and you were saying to Jed, or they were putting on the TV, what was going to happen. And you just kept saying, please say it's both of us. Please say it's both of us. Was that because were afraid you were going to lose if you had to compete against him?
So it wasn't, obviously going up against a competitor like Jed is very intimidating, right? But there was a moment where I was like, please say it's both of us, because it was like, it was getting kind of like screwed over the way that we had just screwed over Jed, where I was like, he's actually really honest and really loyal. And I did a crappy thing to a really awesome person. And I was thinking in that moment, like, I would love if we could go back together and be like, guess what? Do you know what I mean? Like, I would have, if that was an option, because you don't know, right? There's just this screen and it's like fake double. And we're like, what does it mean? What does it mean? So I was thinking, yeah, if we both went back in, like, I would have been like, all right, Jed, like, it's time to team up, because they both just did us dirty, you know?
Yeah.
And even in that moment, I remember just telling him everything, right? Yeah. Like, I was like, I want you to know about this trapdoor. I want you to know where the idea came from, so that if he went back in, I wanted him to really fight for himself, because he really is just a great, super honest person. You're just playing the super cutthroat game. And sometimes you don't realize, like, you don't know who's lying and, you know, who you can trust until sometimes it's too late.
Yeah.
And it's different watching it from the outside, because like we've had this conversation with a couple of like Tina and Beth. It's like, we see everything, and you probably know yourself from watching it. Like, we see everything on the outside, but what you guys don't see happening is, I can't even imagine how crazy it must be. Just like, it's got to be a major.
The paranoia has to be insane.
Because it's just really hard to figure out, like, who's actually like telling the truth, or if nobody's telling the truth, or like, because you never know what's happening in other conversations. So it's really hard to, like, these are all strangers to you, right? Like, you don't know who's like really snaking behind your back, or who's really out to, you kind of have to go with your gut, and sometimes it's wrong.
And it's all strangers going for $100,000. So it's not like, hey, let's see who can win. And it's just a title. It's like a title and it's $100,000.
Yeah. It's like,
you know,
$100,000. I do a lot of stuff.
I would have stabbed every single one of you.
It's a super cutthroat game, and you have to assume that everyone is going in there to win, right? Like I'm sorry, I'm not just going to go on the show just for fun, right? Like, people want to go in. It's physically and mentally exhausting. It's a great experience, but people want to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So it can be cutthroat.
Oh my God. Well, it was good to watch. Like,
definitely.
So good to watch.
Fun to watch.
So when you learned that you got picked for the show, how did you feel?
It was totally unbelievable, because I am just an average mom from a pretty small, like, not a super small town, but my town has 30,000 people in it. You know, I've never done anything crazy exceptional in my life. Like, although I'm like very outgoing, I've never done anything like this before, you know? So to find out that just like, I'm just an average mom, you know, it's going to be 38 years old, that's going to go and do this show that I've been watching forever. I was blown away that they chose me, you know, that I made it. I remember when they told me, I was just like hysterically bawling, like, shut up. No way. I was excited. It was cool. Cause you know, when you think of how many amazing people audition for a show like that, it's very humbling to even just be considered to go into that house. So I was super emotional. It was a big moment.
And then make it to top 3.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I can't.
So back to like the momming, and excuse me if I'm looking over too much, because I'm just trying to read my notes, but
no worries.
What was the struggle like, knowing that it's kind of a 2-part question. So it is about the kids. So what was the struggle like, knowing that you were going, because your kids are young, right? How old are they?
My son is 8 and my daughter's 4.
Okay. Yeah. So like they're babies.
Yeah.
So what was it like, knowing that you were going to be in there and you weren't going to be able to talk to them? Like, that had to be a struggle.
It obviously, you miss your children, right? Like I haven't been without them, especially like I'm a stay-at-home mom, right? Like I've always worked from home. I've always been home. So it was definitely, I was scared to be away from them, but I felt really good knowing that they could see me whenever.
Yeah.
Right? Like mom's like, we're strong, right? As much as I kind of want to check in and see how you're doing, like you worry more about them and how they're going to be. And they just thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And the fact that they could watch me 3 times a week, or if at any time my husband Ryan like wanted to put on a live feed so they could see me, that made it easier knowing that they knew where I was at.
Oh,
You know?
sure.
That's good. Yeah.
So was your husband supportive about it from the get-go? Like when
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. He knows me. I'm kind of crazy and all over the place and always wanting to do something different. And I think it's really important that you find a partner that really nurtures that, like who you are, you know, and supports you, because I'm sure I know that there were some people that were like, what do you mean you're going to leave him with the kids for 3 months? And how is he going to be okay? And I was like, well, he's their dad too, you know, like
capable human being.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing this for 8 years, you know, being a stay-at-home mom. Like he can figure it out, and he did a great job. He's, you know, he's a parent. And that's another thing too with the roles, right? Like, why should it always be on the mom? Why is that unheard of? Do you know what I mean? Like there's single dads out there. Like there's people that like there are dads out there that raise their children on their own all the time. I don't know why it's even that big of a deal.
Even when you have a kid, and if you like, I went back to work. My daughter was 4 or 5 weeks old. Like I was like fresh out of the hospital, honestly. And I went right back to work, and people were like, oh my God, you went back to work so early. And I was like, I had to, like, I didn't get maternity leave in my job. So I had to go back to work, but it was like, how come nobody asked why my husband didn't go back to work or went back to work right away? And you know what I mean? Like you never ask that to a dad, but a mom goes back to work right away. And it's just like, oh my God, you're not taking enough time or whatever. And I do get it, because biologically the roles are different. We do bond differently. Like we carry them. It is a different situation, but there is still a big double standard. Like you say, when you're going into the house, it's like, well, what do you mean you're going to be gone for 2 months? Because that's what I hear all the time. I'm like, I'm going to audition. People are like, what about the baby? I'm like, she'll be fine. Like it's her dad. Like,
yeah.
5.
Right.
And especially when you think of like the yes, it seems, and that was another thing that helped with leaving the kids. It seems like a really long time, but if you look at like their whole entire lives, right? Like
it's like,
you know, 2-3 months, and I get to show them me being very brave and doing something really courageous that might help them the next time they want to do something scary. I'm sorry, worth it. You know,
right?
You know, take risks, take chances, go for things, believe in yourself. To me, that is always, even though I was gone for a short period of time, like the lessons that they saw or being inspired. Like this is you guys will get this because you're mom. So I come home and my son, who's 8, he's got a wiggly tooth in the front. A big, like it's the big one. It's literally just like hanging, you know, when they get those gross, gnarly, like all their teeth are falling out. And it's my first night coming home. And the very first thing that he says to me is like, Mom, he's like, I have been waiting for you to pull this tooth out. And he's like, look I can do hard things too. And he just rips it right out of his mouth. I was so proud of him, because he was, you know, kids get all weird with it and they just let it dangle forever. And he's like, no, he's like, I wanted to show you that I can do hard things too. And he just ripped it right out of his mouth. And I was like, yes.
So I get, I even said personally, I was like, I might get emotional tonight, but that is beautiful. That's just tell them to dream big and do the hard things. You show them.
Yeah.
That's so badass, Tara.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. We were legit rooting for you like the entire game. From the very first episode, we were like, she's our kind of mom.
Well,
I feel like I could see us having wine together too. I'm like, I just feel like
we've
throw all the kids in the backyard.
We've already tried to invite ourselves out. We're like, you're gonna let us know when everybody gets here. We're all going drinking, right? She's like, I'm sure you'll all know. I'm like, no, Tina. Like, invite us out.
I think I'm gonna go up there for her birthday, so in August. So we will keep you posted.
Yeah,
of a little mom reunion.
Reach out for sure.
Yeah. She's like, please don't.
Kids home with dad.
Yeah. Mind.
Actually, I'd be happy to. That'd be fine. Well, for a few beer or 12. But we gravitated toward you from the beginning of the show, and it's not just because you're a mom. There's been moms on these shows for years, but it was just like, it was the determination. It was just believing that you could do anything. It was even the way that you played the game.
Yeah.
Like, was that the way that you had intended to play? Because I know Tina said that she had to kind of adapt. she had a different game strategy when she went in. And then when she got there, she was like, okay, I'm going to need to lay back and lay low for a little while, when she had planned to make like kind of big waves from the start. Did you have to adapt at all?
Yes, you absolutely have to adapt because you don't know what you're walking into. And it was interesting. My initial beginning game was very quiet and very like dim because all of the personalities were so loud and so big. And it was like you could clearly tell if somebody showed too much strength right off the hop, they were gone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I always just anticipated like kind of like being like super competitive and right in there. And it was like, oh no. You've gotta really gotta like step back. And then I can see how people are like, oh, like that's like she's just floating, but it's also part of your strategy, right? Like flying under the radar and letting some of the bigger personalities kind of go after each other, which I actually didn't think that I would have done initially. But you could see these like alliances and these connections that were like, there's no way that I was getting into any, like I would have been at the bottom of every barrel essentially in all of them. So it was very like, all right, we're just going to have to kick it back here a little bit, try not to make too many waves until you really got to step it up. And then once you got to step it up, then you got to play.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's even like, if you look at somebody like Rohan, like I love Rohan so much. The minute people thought it was strong, he was like fighting every single week. Like that's so hard to sustain. You got to win. You got to win every single time, you know?
Yeah. And I wouldn't want to have to be fighting for my life every single week.
No, it is stressful. That was how I felt, especially at the end, right? You know, I was on the block 5 times. If I pack my bag one more time, it sucks. Like I kept telling, I would always laugh with Deshaun. I'm like, yeah, I wish I was in your position, never on the block, but I lived on it. And it's a different style of game when you're essentially like either fighting for your life or campaigning for your life or trying not to make any waves while somebody else is blowing up their spot. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. How did it feel to be able to put the boys on slop when you won HOH?
Loved it. I loved it, especially because, you know, I think at that point I had been on slop like 21 days. Like they weren't always back to back, but I was always on it. They had never, you know, like that Sunsetter Alliance, they were just dominating the house. Yeah. And for the majority, like the beginning of the game, they weren't really that uncomfortable ever.
Yeah.
So to get to put them on slop, I was like, yeah, now it's your turn.
Yeah. By the way, you and you.
Yeah.
Didn't even think about it.
No hesitation. Because I thought it was impressive that they went that long without ever being, you know,
uncomfortable, like you said.
Yeah.
And we were shouting basically at the TV. We were like, she better put them on slop.
It came through. Like, you know how when you're watching Big Brother and you want people to make moves and you're like, come on, just take the shot, make the move, do the thing.
Yeah.
And then they never do it. My God, you did all of the things.
Yeah.
You took down Jed. He saved freaking Beth over himself because you guys made him feel so comfortable that he was going to stay.
That was wild.
I'm still trying to figure it out. Like I think I just picked my job like last week after that happened.
Yeah.
In Jed's defense in that though, he really thought though that he had the loyalty of his people, right? Like he thought that he's like, well, I'm going to save all of them, right? Like he's like the entire sauce is going to be great. And then Braden's going to go. He really did not think that they would turn on him like that.
Wow. And I mean,
I tried, there was one time out by the hot tub where I was like, well, I mean, I'm like, I will put it Braden, but like, are you sure? Yeah, it was like a little bit of a teaser. And he's like, oh, trust me. He's like, I know them more than you. And I was like, okay. I'll do it. I will put up Braden.
Can you imagine?
But I think he really was. He was trying to save his whole little unit.
Yeah. And I mean, you would think you're like, okay, all of these people I have an alliance with. But I mean, at some point you're like, when do your alarm bells go off? Considering that he tried to let Kiefer go home like that. Yeah. If he never did that and they turned on him, that I could see that being more of a blindside. But the fact that had just happened a couple of weeks before. And now all of a sudden, like, you know, oh, I'm going to use this on Beth and they're all going to keep me. But it's like, where's the alarms going off, you know? But
yeah, I don't know. I thought it was pretty obvious. But again, we're watching it from out here. So, you know.
Oh. Dead air.
Dead air.
Sorry.
No worries.
This is why we always have it like typed up
Yeah.
normally.
I can't.
No worries.
If they're too far away.
Yeah.
Just wondering about, so like we talked to Beth last week and she had said that she had received a lot of backlash after the show. And it's not something that she talked about a lot. We like full on asked her about it.
Yeah.
But have you received any backlash or anything like that since Big Brother's over? Was there anything negative to come to you?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everybody does, right? You're on camera 24/7, you're under scrutiny. You're not going to please everyone. You know what I mean? Absolutely. I think everybody gets some little form of it, right? Because you're filmed, especially like from the live feeds, right? Like something that you can say that you totally don't mean to be offensive or anything negative. If somebody's watching and that's the way they feel about it, that's the way they feel about it. So everybody, I think, leaving the house got some sort of, because it's unfiltered, it's unscripted. And at the end of the day, no one is perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're also in an age now where you have to be perfect in a way.
Yeah.
Like there's all these keyboard warriors. So like if you're watching something on TV and you say something that offends one person, whether everything is like out of context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people will just jump down your throat on anything nowadays. Like I feel like it's just really easy to do. They can just sit behind a keyboard and type a few things and
super. And I do think that there's like a lot of things happening in the world where like essentially like it is good, you know, like for people to kind of, I don't know necessarily like calling other people out, or if you do say something that kind of hurts somebody, like we should be recognizing how other people feel outside of like our bubbles. But when it comes to like the actual like trolls and the keyboard warriors, like you're not just fighting for that. Like you're literally trying to like belittle a person, put somebody down, drag them through the mud. It's one thing to like call somebody out and be like, hey, you really shouldn't say that. It's inappropriate. This is why. And then it's another one to be sending somebody a death threat over Twitter. Do you know what I mean? Like, which is,
that's ridiculous to think that even happens. Like,
oh, it's wild. People get so angry about the littlest things.
And it's ridiculous because it's like, you people need to relax. It's a TV show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes, it's a game show, like essentially, because there's winnings and whatnot involved, but like you need to just calm down because like you guys are still people, you know?
Absolutely. And you know, people are allowed to make mistakes. Nobody is perfect, right? No. And somebody like Beth, she did get a lot of backlash. Even when I got home, people were like, oh, like, what do you actually think about Beth? I'm like, man, Beth is a great person. Like, sure, were we not like working together in the house? Were we maybe rivals in the house? Like, it's still a game. It's still a competitive thing we're doing. But like outside of the house, like I chat with Beth all the time. Like she's a great, wonderful person with a big heart, you know? So some of that stuff it is like hard to see. You'd hope more people would come together, but I do think for the most part, it's a positive thing, right? Like, and some of the issues that are coming up, that's great. You know, talk about them.
Yeah.
Maybe they should be out. Like if that's the way that people feel, it doesn't always have to be this like hate versus hate, you know, like it shouldn't be that way, especially like with this cast. It was the most diverse cast ever. That was a beautiful thing. You can't take away from some of these like connections or the stories that were shared or things that were portrayed on the show, and by fueling it with something that isn't even real within these relationships with the people.
Exactly.
Yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was like such a good cast.
It really was.
They're great.
Yeah.
Because I think when you like leave the house too, the game's over.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone's going to be best friends, right? Not everybody's going to hang out, but you share this incredible experience together that nobody else knows about. Like people know about it, but what it's like to actually be there and feel like these are bonds that you can have with people for life. Not that you're going to talk to them every day, but you did that thing together. You know, it's like going to battle with somebody. Like, God, remember when we did that? That was crazy. I can't believe we all survived.
A lot too on like social media of like all of the past house guests. Up with like this year's season and like you know 4 seasons ago basically, with last like year's
Big Brother alumni.
It's like friends. It's like you guys all share this experience, you know?
It's really cool like talking to some of the past house guests and just the things that they say because they understand, and it's this big cool family with a lot of wild personalities, but it's awesome. It's that part's really cool.
Aw, I love that.
I think it must be amazing to like go back and see like people who, when you were watching them years ago on like previous casts and stuff, and you're just like, oh my God, I was dying to meet you. Like, who were you dying to meet? And
oh my God. Well, I'm obsessed with Ika Wong, who isn't.
Right?
I love Ika. She has said that we can go on a double date if I'm ever in the Toronto area, which I'm like, yes, it's going.
Like, I'm going to Toronto now.
Yeah.
Honestly, like anybody from any of the seasons, though, I feel like
we're having some difficulty. Tara, sorry. Hang on.
Oh, it's Tina hopping in. I saw it. I see my bestie. I know my bestie's face when I see her.
What are you at?
Hi, Tina. Surprise.
I was just telling the girls that we're going to have to let them know when I come for your birthday.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I told them I'd give them the inside scoop.
Yeah. I told you we'd weasel our way in. Tina's our new, like, she hasn't admitted it yet, but we call her our best friend.
Yeah. I will loan her to you until I'm there, and then I'm taking custody back of my best friend.
That's fair. I
can get on board with that.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going good.
Yeah, you guys have lots of fun.
Oh yeah, we're just chit-chatting about how everybody hates everybody.
Yeah. We're like, wasn't Tina the worst?
Oh, Tina was the worst.
I know, right? Tina was a real freaking winner there, right?
I tell everybody, I'm like, I went on Big Brother to meet my best friend, Tina. Like, she's gonna be my friend forever.
That is true, though.
Oh yeah, hands down. I can't wait till she comes here.
Oh, we're gonna freak out.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you guys haven't actually like seen each other in person since the ending, obviously.
Well,
right?
we had like a little, like kind of like mini little wrap party afterwards, because it's obviously like with COVID, it was very small just with the cast. So we got to see each other before we had to fly out.
Right.
But no, we haven't seen each other since. We were waiting. I actually just got my double vax today.
Woo!
so that I can come. We were just waiting for some of the travel things because it's like the cross provinces.
Like, honestly, I cried when, so I said to Crystal one day, I was like, I don't think I realized how much impact this whole like isolation and pandemic and everything was actually having on me mentally. But when they announced that, people were going to be allowed in without having a quarantine and all this stuff, like I fucking started bawling. I was like uncontrolled. I was like, I don't even go anywhere. I don't travel. Like I've never traveled. But I was it felt like the end, you know what I mean? Like the end is near and things are going to be back to normal again. And oh my God, I screamed.
That was a really, really trippy thing, leaving the house and finding out that things were still bad and we were still in like a lockdown because you don't know, right? Yeah. We used to gauge things like in the hot tub area, you could see planes going back and forth. And towards the end, it looked like there were more planes flying back and forth. So we honestly thought that things were getting better. We were like, look, guys, it looks like people are traveling. Like we see more planes today than we saw last week. Cause meanwhile, you always just know nothing in that house. Like you're always wrong about everything. But when we came out and they were like, oh no, lockdown still, that sucks.
It's an adjustment to just kind of come out and know that things hadn't improved. Like it was wild.
In 3 months.
I never even thought about that.
Right?
Yeah.
You would think that in 3 months' time, like things would have at least, I don't know, improved a little tiny bit, even just like a little increment towards better. But nothing.
Yeah. And I think we were being in the house, we were all kind of hoping that, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of like, when we get out, it's going to be a little bit better and whatnot. So it was an adjustment to come out and realize that it wasn't.
Yeah. To go from isolation back into isolation. We're like,
no.
But I also I think that's why a lot of people like really connected with this season too. There was a lot more people home and really used to what it's like to be isolated and not being able to leave, right? Those little things that you take for granted.
Yeah.
Everybody feels like they were in a Big Brother house.
Yeah,
last year, right? Like,
so more of the story is we're gonna have lots of fun when Tara.
Yes.
Right.
Do I have to start stocking up on shooters?
Yeah, no, not so much. I'll pass on the shooters thing.
The bears for us,
right? It's the bears.
Yeah. Because I say shooters, and as I say it, I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
bad idea.
Really? I was sitting here going, tequila.
Yeah, no.
No. Okay.
When I said shoot, I was thinking like sourpuss. Like very, very light shooters.
Sambuca? No?
No, we'll give Tara the fine tour of George Street.
Yeah.
So you guys will appreciate this story. So there was a scene in the show where me and Tina had to chug a beer, and then we got a party in the pantry.
One of our favorites.
Best scene.
So one thing that was not shown is that we didn't just chug a glass of beer. Me and Tina chugged an entire pitcher. And like we did it so fast because we're like, we don't know if we're gonna get in trouble for this. But I was like, did it say chug a glass or chug a jug, Tina? And we just kept pouring and pouring.
Chug a jug.
pouring and pouring.
And then after we had emptied the jug, we were like, oh shit, now there's evidence. So hold
gotta
on.
hide it.
We gotta take this jug and we gotta hide it.
We hid it in the
in the
slop
cupboard.
fridge. In the slop fridge because no one goes in there. We came out and everybody's like, you guys look suspicious. And I was like, yeah, because we just chugged 3 beers in 5 minutes and I'm wasted. I haven't eaten in a week.
Oh, yes, too. Oh my God.
It was so funny though. It was like, I remember to Sean just looking at us. He's like, something's happening. He's like, they're not sitting down. He's like, is there something wrong with the food or their drinks? And we're like, we didn't want to tell them because then we didn't want them to get mad at us. And we're like, no, everything's great, guys.
They were all afraid to like eat the food because they thought that there was some kind of twist that if they ate it, then we'd come off slop and all of them would be on slop, and it was great.
Because you don't know, like Big Brother throws twists, like crazy twists. So
no, and we probably looked so sketchy because we did. We just chugged 3 glasses as fast as we could.
Oh yeah.
They're all looking at us like, what is happening? We're like, it's all nothing to see here. Move along.
Oh my God. How excited were you when you found out that you got to chug the beer? Because they don't let you have alcohol. Like it's not like always in the fridge.
No. It's like they're like little rewards or little parties. There's usually like once a week you'll get like a little breather, and it's just always fun because then everybody just kind of stops playing the game for a little bit and you just like let loose and you chill. It's always an exciting thing if they give you a cocktail. Yeah. You're like, yes.
Yeah. The excitement is like times 10 when that stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Well, I mean, Tina's voice hit a different octave when she was reading out the card, and she was like, "We need to chug a beer."
Well, because you never know, like when, like, you never know what's happening. You just see a card, we're like, oh, great. Are we in trouble? Is this a punishment? We're like, no, it's a party.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the littlest things that excite you in that house.
But I can see that because it's like, what else are you doing? Like, besides the fact that you're like, eating slop, which we know is Tina's favorite.
Oh, she loves it.
Nah.
I always had to cook it for her. And I was like, well, look, I never said that I was a sous chef, but I mean, come on, Tina. Do you know how many times I would try and make this slop for her to like it? It was like every day I'm like, maybe I will get a smile out of Tina. I'd be cooking it for hours and she'd be like, still terrible. Still terrible. I'd be like, God, you're hard to please.
Listen, Melissa would be on the same wavelength as me on this one. I'm sorry. You wouldn't get a smile out of Melissa's face either with the whole slop thing.
Think?
I don't know. I'd probably be okay. I think Crystal would have a really hard time with it.
I'd probably vomit.
But all the same, I do get pretty angry. I do get like, if I haven't eaten in a while, I can get mean. I think I would have been like Austin, like when right before she was going home and she was on slop and she was crying because of the food. Like I really related to her in that diary room.
It makes you emotional for sure.
It does,
especially
you're
when you
smelling
can just,
all the good stuff being cooked, and it's like, oh, it's torture.
And people will mess with you, right? Like people who aren't on slop. Like, do you know how many times I'd be like, there's nothing to eat. I'm so hungry. And I'd be like, oh, I'm going to kill someone.
You know how many times I'd have to be bleeped out? I'd be like, go fuck yourself. 100 a day.
Yeah. You need like your own quarantine in the house.
They just blur my mouth out permanently forever. And
it always felt whenever me and Tina were on slop that was the week that everybody just cooked bacon all day. And bacon smells so good. Like you just like be like, but can I put the grease on my slop?
Yeah, can I drizzle it?
Are you allowed condiments though? Like is it slop and condiments?
you get like a little list of what you're allowed to mix with it. So you can either make it like sweet, like with like syrup and sugar and cinnamon, or you can kind of like make it into like a patty if there's like mayo and hot sauce. We made
Don't
muffins.
get excited, girls. It does nothing to change the taste. Really, it does nothing.
I think get down with some cinnamon slop.
You know what? As crazy as it is, though, like it gave you something to do. Like there's something about the slop.
It took 4 hours.
It takes it doesn't burn. Like you can't, like it takes forever to like cook it so that it's like doesn't taste gushy. It's got this weird. It's got this. That's why Tina hates it. She's a texture girl. Like she's like, it's the so I'd try deep frying in the oven, flipping it in oil, like trying to get the gushy out of it.
Yeah. It was gross. Crispy on the outside, gushy in the middle.
Yeah, it's gross.
No, not doing it. Not doing it.
I'd make it work. I'd pretend it was like do you remember years ago there was an episode of Full House where like DJ was on a diet and her and Steph were eating celery pretending they were like different flavored candy bars, and then they traded. Because she'd be like, I have a Snickers, and the other girl was like, I have a Twix, and it was just a piece of celery.
Yeah.
And then they were like, do you want to trade? And they traded. So I would just pretend that it was like
I can't do
Twix
that.
slop or something.
It's like
Pretending doesn't work.
I eat broccoli, and as much as I know that broccoli is good for me, I chew it up like this.
And that's like Tina. That's like Tina eats slop. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my face because I'm trying not to taste it while I chew it to get it swallowed.
You got to cover it with like the cheese sauce.
Ugh.
Oh yeah.
I can't even do that because I'm like, it ruins the cheese.
I had broccoli and cheese for supper today.
Gross.
I made it for the baby. She loved it. She was like, some more broccoli. I love the way she says broccoli. It just kills me. But I had to feed it to her today. She decided that she didn't feed
Your
herself
kid's a better
today.
person than me.
I mean, it
Your
was
kid's a
covered
better
in cheese. Like it was more cheese than broccoli by the end of it. But yeah. All right. So now that we have both the girls.
Uh-oh.
No, we don't have any specific Tina Tara questions. We just
we won't get you in trouble or anything.
I mean, can we?
We get ourselves into trouble.
Yeah.
So how long are you coming for when you get here, do you think?
Well, I'll be coming with the kids and my husband too. So we'll probably do like kind of like a long extended weekend.
Nice.
Like a Thursday to a Monday or like something like around there. I think Tina's actual birthday's on a Saturday, right? Or what day is your birthday on?
No, it's on a Monday, I think.
Yeah.
But we'll probably celebrate the weekend before.
Yeah, we've got to coordinate it so we're not flying home feeling haggard, you know?
Yeah.
After birthday cocktails. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited though to come and check out the Rock. I've had so many people from Newfoundland message me. I think I'm like people like me from there just because I was best friends with Tina in the house. Like people are like, yes, you're an honorary member. Yes. I'm like, perfect.
Honestly,
That's
like,
usually what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got to get screeched in though. She's got to get screeched in to get the actual
1000%.
certificate.
Yeah, I will get screeched in. I will have a drink with every single one of you.
right. Are you
take a long
excited?
time.
So it's a real cod, hey?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It grosses me out.
Yeah.
When I watch Screech-Ins, because I used to see them all the time where they'd have like a stuffed puffin. And,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's not real.
That's not
But
fun.
but when you're there and they take like the real codfish out of the freezer and you have to kiss it, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
nasty.
You got to give it a big old. Although I don't know what they do with that now with all COVID
Oh,
and
with
stuff.
COVID. Yeah.
Well,
You might be out of
actually,
it.
I mean,
this one Christmas time.
Yeah, but I was drunk. I don't remember what happened.
I wasn't. Though.
Full disclosure.
Yeah, we were down at Trapper John's Christmas time. And I can't remember for sure if he actually made her kiss it or if like it was just like a really close.
Oh yeah, I
like,
do remember now.
like it got super close and she was just like, but then he got her and told her she didn't kiss it. I remember
yeah,
that.
so I think that you do have to still kiss it. I don't know if you have to or are allowed to, but whatever the rules were then, yeah, I think she
If I'm coming to the Rock, I'm kissing the cod. Okay.
maybe they'll have a special
I'm gonna go all the way.
you might as well, right? You only
Yeah,
do it
I
once.
need the whole experience. No cutting corners. Just
You didn't
burn the fish when I'm done.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So have you ever been to Newfoundland before?
No, but I've been to Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and I love out east. So I'm very, very excited.
Yeah.
I just think it's so beautiful on the East Coast. I've lived on the West Coast before, and then I obviously live in Ontario now, but the East Coast it's gorgeous. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And everybody, I always say this whenever I talk about my experiences in Nova Scotia or New Brunswick, like the people are just so nice. Like the nicest people I've ever met. Like I've gone to like little towns where you're crossing the street and people will just stop for you. And I'm like, oh, I've lived in Toronto where people will speed up, like everybody is just so nice and wonderful. So yeah.
I remember,
and it's beautiful.
Yeah. When you can see, sometimes
there's a lot of whales around the coast now. Like the whales are unbelievable
right now. Yeah.
You'll miss those though, because the Capeland, I guess, are still rolling.
Yeah, I think that's why the weather's been. We blame the weather on random things. I said the other day, because it's been cold here. It's been like 40 degrees in Canada and Newfoundland. When we started this podcast, I had to turn up my heat because I was sat here and I was like, I'm gonna get chilly in a minute. But I always say that like it gets cold because we have this fair that goes around town or goes around the island. It's called Thomas Amusements. And as soon as it got cold, I found out that Thomas Amusements was in town, and I was like, "That's why the weather sucks." Figures. It's like just an old tale.
That and the Capeland. It always brings bad weather.
They're the reason that it's cold here. So Tara, right now we're hoping we're getting rid of all of the shit weather for you. So that when it comes, it'll be like 25.
Yeah, if you could bring some warm 25. Weather in your suitcase, that'd be great.
It's really hot here and it gets very humid here. So
yeah.
It's like almost like our summers, it gets so hot you don't like, unless somebody has a pool, you don't even want to go outside.
Yeah.
I could take a day of that.
Yeah, you'll be
at least.
Yeah.
No, we usually get some decent weather in August. We usually get some decent weather then.
Yeah, we do. So you'll enjoy it there. That'll be like probably the one weekend of summer.
Because like if you guys do go out, it's good. It's always good patio weather.
Yes.
Like if you go to George Street and stuff, like and Water Street now, like another spot downtown, they all have like patios outside these restaurants. And I mean, there's just something about hitting a deck on a sunny afternoon and having
patio hopping is my favorite.
Like
I'm like I would rather go out during the day, overnight, any day of the week. Just like patio hop.
Big time. Yeah.
I think that might be like the mom in me too, like be in bed by 9 o'clock, can't see anything, and then I'm fine the next day, and give yourself a solid 13 hours of sleep.
Well, I mean, this whole like 1 and 2 o'clock. We were at Crystal's cabin the weekend and we went to bed. I think the next morning I looked at her, I was like, you stayed up late last night. She's like, we all went to bed at 1. And I'm like, that's pretty late.
I just want to point out that I stayed up until 1 o'clock 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
And then the following day, I know, but the following day I had a nap, which is weird. I never nap. And then I went to bed at 10 o'clock because I was falling asleep on the couch. So clearly I can't do this.
It's hard.
Right?
It's hard. I feel like too, when you hit your 30s, drinking is just different.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember being like in your early 20s?
Wait till you hit your 40s, folks. Wait till you hit your 40s.
Tina, just settle down.
Well, my husband's there now, and he sleeps.
The recovery time. It's just, it's just not as good.
You need a couple of days. Like, do you remember being 20? And I would go out drinking until like 3 o'clock in the morning, get a cab home, and then wake up and go then to work for like 7. And I'm like, I was definitely still drunk at work. Like the booze can't come out of your system that fast. It just doesn't.
I didn't do that. I was parenting.
Yeah, she was early 20s parenting.
I was.
That's right.
Okay, back to the game. So we go off topic. If there's anybody still listening, we'll get back to the game. So I guess this isn't a test to this next question, but after the BB Can Awards, you said that in the fakest place in the world, we have real things.
Yeah.
And now Tina's like messaging us saying, hey, I want to pop in to say hi to Tara when you're talking to her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you're coming here to visit each other. So like, how does that work? You're there to stab each other in the back and then you guys become best friends.
Yeah, but even like other relationships that you wouldn't suspect out of the house, it's a very fake place. It's a very hard game, but you do build these real connections with people. And it's really cool the way it brings very different people together. Everybody's got different backgrounds, everybody's different ages, different walks of life, different cities, different ways that they grew up. And even though it is fake and it's like this terrible, almost like toxic place, you do come out with these beautiful, real bonds that you would never have if you didn't do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's you're there. It's 24/7 with the same people. So, within a matter of days, it's like you've known someone for months, right? So that just continues on as you get further in the game.
Yeah. And picture too, like when we go out now, especially the world that we live in, it's so digital. Like sometimes you go up to dinner with somebody and they're on their phone the whole time, or, like they're texting or they're distracted, or like you're working, like this is literally, we don't have anything in that house but each other. There's nothing. Yeah. The biggest luxury we had was the chessboard, and that was a super fun thing to like learn and do, but you're literally just talking to people 24/7. You're not watching movies, you're not listening to music, you're not distracted by any of the outside world. So you really get to learn a lot about people really fast.
That's crazy. Yeah. Because you're watching it and you're like, this is an hour long. Yeah. They're in this room, in this house, they play these games, and then the world goes on because we turn the TV off and go back to our phones or go out into the outside world or whatever. And it's like, you forget that you guys are, just there, like, forever hanging out, talking to each other.
Yeah. Sean is so smart when it comes to numbers. It's crazy the way his brain works with numbers. And I remember one day he was like figuring out the math on it. And it was like the hours that we spent together that we weren't sleeping is equivalent to as if we had all worked together for like 9.5 months or something. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like all of that time in between where I'm like, it's crazy. And it's all condensed into this small chunk of time because you're just together every day for 12 hours.
Yeah. I mean, that's where the real friendships come from. Like, of course.
Did you make up like games, or like, did you invent things that?
Well, you guys saw that we did the fashion show, remember, where they did like the makeup and stuff on the guys, and we had the ball pit. A lot of people would play in the ball pit. You get creative. Like me and Tina in the backyard, we would go on walks. We would try and walk for an hour just to like get your body moving, and we would go for walks, and she would describe different places in Newfoundland to me. So she'd be like, okay, so we're gonna go on a hike here, and she would try and describe it as if we were there, and then I would do the same for some of the places that I've been or some of my favorite walks. So you kind of lose your mind a little bit, but you figure out different things to do.
Yeah. Oh, that is really cool. I'd be really crappy at that. I think I'd be like, I just do Signal Hill all the time because it's like the only hike I know here.
You took me on that one, right, Tina?
I did. I walked on that one. Yeah, exactly.
It looks beautiful.
Because we had the discussion about your mesh shoes, remember?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes.
So when you come to Newfoundland, don't bring the mesh shoes.
You can't wear them on Signal Hill.
No. I was telling her, because me and my husband, we were in Hawaii once with a group of friends that were that got married, and we did this crazy it was 8 or 10 mile hike, but like in a jungle on a cliff to this waterfall. It was one of the craziest things I've ever done, but I was wearing like these like Nike Flyknit. I wasn't even wearing socks. Like I was so unprepared. Yeah. I think I had like a backpack with like a big book and a towel in it, no water. I was like, I almost died. Like my feet were bleeding. I was like emotionally traumatized. I was like, what? Like that was cool, but what did we just do? So she tells me about the hikes and she's like, I'll pack the bag.
Yeah.
I'll make sure you're
good call.
Yeah. She's like, I'll make sure you're set up for success.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. No, the mesh shoes. I mean, 2 seconds in, they're gonna be ruined.
Yeah.
Like, twigs in them.
Twigs, and then like scaling the side of the mountain a little bit.
Yeah.
With the rope bridge. You'll never survive it with mesh shoes.
No. Yeah. I've learned my lesson.
Like there's a lot of people who do. I won't take my dog on the trail because I'm afraid that she'll like take me over the cliff. Like guaranteed.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's safe.
Yeah. It sounds great. Yeah, I can't wait to do that.
Way to scare the shit out of her, girl.
Yeah. Sorry about it. Hey, Rich, way to upsell the hike.
Am I sure I'm in sales? Because it's not.
Maybe we're on an East Coast trail instead.
Yeah. No, we'll take her on a safe one.
Okay, I've got a couple more game questions. I know we bounce back and forth between life and game. Like
But this is how our brains work.
It is. They ping pong. They go everywhere. So, okay. I want to know about the final veto.
Yes.
So what did it feel like when you won the final veto? And did you make the right move by sending Kiefer home?
So that final veto was awesome. That was one of my favorite challenges to do. It was so cool, like the escape room and then like the water. Like that was one of the comps where I was like, oh, this is like everything Big Brother. It was awesome. And it was funny. I was really worried on the last half of it, because I did really good on the first half. Like I sailed right on through it. And then I screwed up one of the numbers in the second half. And everybody knows in Big Brother, if you make one stupid mistake, like it could cost you everything. So I didn't know, like when we were waiting, I was like, I don't know if I have this. Like I didn't feel good about it. So when I found out that I had won, I was obviously ecstatic. Like, oh my God, I get to take myself. I don't have to worry about it. And the decision with Brayden and Kiefer, it was such a hard decision, because I honestly, truly believe that none of them would have taken me regardless. Right? Like I wasn't in a position where anybody's going to take me. And I was like, if I'm going to take myself to the end, I need to make the biggest moves so that there is no way that the jury can't give me that vote. Right. Yeah. So if I say like, you know, I took out Jed and Kiefer, who were two of the strongest players in the game, for me, if I'm bringing myself to final two, that's putting me in a really good spot. Yeah. And another thing too, is like people didn't know that I actually had a really good relationship with Brayden as well. We were very low key, but we were like, it wasn't even on the show. We laugh about it later, but I was like, me and Tina they didn't even say that we were oddballs, but we were in that alliance, right? Yeah. So it was like, I wanted to make a big move. And I also wanted to ensure that even if it wasn't me, that an oddball was in the end. Yeah. So it was really tough though, because they were, you know, two amazing, awesome players. You really care about them at the end.
Like for the record, I think we both agree that was definitely the right decision to make. Because we love Kiefer too, but we're watching it going, he's got to go, because if he makes it to final two, like with his resume, that was phenomenal. So we were like, when you sent him home, that was like, yes, that what we were saying before, Tina, we were telling Tara that like when we were watching this season, we were watching it being like, oh, she needs to do this and she needs to do that. And then she did it all. It wasn't just like the other seasons where you'd wish that people would make the big moves and then they were afraid. Like you did the thing you needed to do.
You listened really well to us.
Yeah. It was about time.
There was though, because I did have such a great like game relationship and personal relationship with Kiefer. That the fake double really was a huge factor in cutting him as well. Because when I battled back into the house, they were all vocal that it was Tashawn and Kiefer that wanted me out, and that Brayden was he tried a little bit to get them to skeeter towards Beth. Like they told me that. Yeah. So that also showed me that in another situation, I would have went to the end with Kiefer, but that showed that I don't think he ever would have taken me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm always one of those, you know, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah. And it was a hard decision, but I was like, you already picked somebody else over me. I think that you would do it again.
Yeah. I think you made the right move, because when we were watching it too, like there's always, everybody criticizes everything. I mean, we do an after show for Big Brother where we criticize the whole game and each episode. Like, you know, it's our joy.
Yeah.
But so there was, you know, people were like, oh, she should have caught Brayden because Kiefer would have taken her and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't think, excuse me, he would, but even if he would have, like say Kiefer said like he was going to take you and he meant it.
Yeah.
The big move is where it's at, because ultimately you can't depend on anybody. When you're that far in the game, you cannot rely on anybody else. So it was like, she needs to cut someone and then win. Like those are the only options when it gets down to the final three, because you don't know who's going to win that final HOH, and you can't rely on somebody else taking you. You have to rely on your big moves to get you there. Yeah.
And trying to take yourself. And honestly, at that point, you know, like everybody was such a great competitor.
Yeah.
Everybody was a big move. Like you don't know, like, I think we were all pretty even for like comp wins. Like there was no like easy choice in that situation at all.
It was hard.
Well, ladies, I'm going to take off and let you guys finish up your interview with Tara. I just wanted to pop in and say hello.
Tina,
Hi, Tina.
you don't want to dance off with us? I thought you were.
Oh, we're gonna do the dance up. All right, I'm gonna have to hang for the dance off then. I know. Okay.
Questions left, girl. You don't
All
need
right, we'll hang for the dance off. I forgot about the dance off. I mean, it's a key element, right?
Okay, all right.
All right. If you won instead of was it Ty won the final HOH? If you won the final HOH, who were you bringing?
I was gonna bring Brayden.
Were you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly and I love Deshaun, I love Brayden, but there were so many sunsetters in that jury.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's, I didn't even realize Tina was a sunsetter in that jury,
Oh my
Yeah.
You kept a good lid on that one.
Tina,
Yes.
you on every
This is one thing that I say, because people were like, Tina, she was kind of playing a weaker game. I was like, excuse me. I'm like, she was my best friend in the house and she was working in the most obvious alliance. And she was the only person that I didn't know was fully in it. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, that is stealth. I don't care what anybody says.
You were, because it was like, you literally knew everything about everybody in the house and you just on lockdown.
Like if Kiefer didn't have to convince the boys to keep him when you guys were on the block together, oh man, we were some fucking brought it about that. We were like, what the hell is happening? Because we the episode before we had talked about it. We're like, okay, Tina's on the block, but I think it's pretty clear they're gonna get Kiefer out. We're good. And then we watched it again, and I was like, this fucking show, honestly.
That's the twist of Big Brother, hey?
Always.
I always tell Tina too, I'm like, the moves that I made were total Tina revenge.
But honestly, she went home and then Tara was like, I'm going to avenge your eviction.
I said to Arissa out on the stage, she asked me, who's going to take the next OH and what's going to happen? I said, my girl's going to take it. I knew she was up studying. I knew she knew all the phrases. I knew she was ready for it. And so I knew she was going to take it. And I knew she was going to send someone a big shot out the door.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Don't be coming after my bestie. I'll come for you.
And then they were all like from our point of view, they were trying to scare you almost into not putting up big people, because it was they were saying, oh well, you can't play next week, and other players in the past have let that intimidate them and been like, yeah, I should make friends with these big competitors or whatever. But you were like, Tiger Tara, you're like, no, get out.
Yeah. I think at the end it was a total suicide mission. It was how many? I don't think I'm going to survive this, but I'm going to take as many shots as I can.
Right?
Yeah, no, it was fabulous. So one thing we didn't see at the end, who did you vote for?
Oh, I voted for Brayden.
Did you vote?
Tina, I did vote for Brayden.
It's funny, when we were there at the jury, there was a few of us that really did not have a clue who we were going to vote for, because we had in jury talked about different scenarios and, if these two or these two. So we kind of talked about stuff, but it really came down to, the final HOH and, the final pitches. And at the end of the day, I literally changed my vote when I was at the podium getting ready to put my chip in.
Really?
Wow.
So it was, and you know what? Both of them were they played such different games too, that it was,
it was a hard decision.
Yeah.
It really was. They both played great games.
I think for me, I really kind of favored Brayden in that situation because he played a similar game to mine where he was constantly on the block and fighting for himself. So I think I know what that feels like to be in that position. But they both played phenomenal games. They both deserve to be there. I can see why it was a hard decision for everyone to make.
Absolutely.
It was,
As a viewer, how many seasons do I go into it knowing oh, this person's going to take it, this one. And you always have a favorite.
Yeah.
Honestly, I flip-flopped on favorites the whole game. There were people that we gravitated to, you ladies, we gravitated toward you guys. But when it got closer to the end, it was I'm happy if any of these people win this show, because it was just
honestly. And if you make it to that point, God, it is a hard
game. It is a very hard game. It really is.
It changes so much too. It is honestly anybody's game at any point. It changes like that. So if you're in that position at the end, you deserve to be there.
Absolutely.
100%.
So are you excited for Big Brother US to start up?
Yes, we have
Yes.
we've got a draft going with some of the house guests.
Yeah.
Some of like our house guests, we got a draft going. We're making our picks right now.
Love it. Love it. I've been skimming over the house guest. I saw him actually, Tina tagged us on Instagram and we looked, that was when I was like, oh my God, the house guest, because we were at Crystal's cabin at the time. We're like, they're dropped. Let's see who it is. And I'm gonna take a good deep dive in now, I think tomorrow.
But one of them is gone now.
Yes.
Actually,
she was going to be my pick too.
Oh yeah.
I think we heard a spoiler. She got COVID, so she couldn't go on the show.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
She was going to be my pick.
second one?
I thought I heard that there was a second one. Now I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on it. But I thought there was two that they ended up swapping out.
we'll get to the bottom of it.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Yeah. Do your research, ladies, because we got to pull. We got to discuss who's.
Yeah,
gonna
Tara
take
and
it,
Tina
right?
got to take home a damn win here. So if you can help us out with our picks.
Oh, listen, we will help you out. And I'm not gonna speak for Crystal, but I am terrible at predicting certain things. I can predict gameplay for the most part, but how many, like we were talking at the beginning, we tried to predict showmances. And we just got them so wrong. I got them wrong.
We're not good.
Yeah. I was thinking, who was it? I had Ty and Vic.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh wait, she has a boyfriend. Okay, no, this is just not happening. No,
Right.
like, as we were going through, and then we just stopped doing the showman's predictions because we were like, we're bad at this.
Yeah.
But gameplay, we're not bad.
No, we're pretty good on gameplay, but
Okay, we can talk more about this after. Tara, is there anything that you want to drop or promote or like your plug?
If anybody wants to keep up with me, just I usually hang out on Instagram. That's my platform of choice. It's at Tera Gillen. You can find me there. I work with some pretty cool brands. I share things like that. I share some mindset, wellness, and then obviously my family, but that's it. That's me.
Go follow my girl Tara.
Yeah.
Go follow her.
Give me a follow if you want to keep hanging.
My Oh So Soft hoodie from Zaya.
You know that I was looking at that. I'm like, I think that's an Oh So Soft hoodie.
Yes.
She's obsessed with it.
I am. Yeah.
The Oh So Soft hoodies are, you can't beat them.
Also, I just want to point out, Tina, that I've got a pink Yes Buy hat coming too. So
Yes. Yep. Tina's got her apparel line coming out.
Tina, give us a name drop now, because last time when we talked to you, it was the creative and Tag a Pet.
Yeah.
So we're doing the official launch tomorrow night, Tuesday night live on Instagram at 8:30 Eastern time, and it's called Best Kind Apparel.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. We'll be tuning in for sure.
Yep.
And one last question that I do remember. See, Tina, we believe it or not, we mixed up our times for Tara today. I know it's weird. We don't usually make any mistakes, but we did make one today, so we didn't have time to type up our questions, but there was one that I was wondering, and I think we asked it to Tina as well, especially from your Instagram. You do a lot of like mindset things, a lot of like, if you want it, do it, like go for it, make it happen. Have you heard of, and do you believe in the law of attraction?
Yes, I think the law of attraction is real, but I think the law of attraction will only get you so far. So as much as I think that it's great, absolutely, you have to be, putting those vibes out to the universe, but you also have to work for them. Okay. You can't just toss a vibe out and expect it to come to your doorstep. You have to hustle. And I like to talk about mindset a lot because yes, law of attraction, yes, vibes matter, but we all struggle with different things, and it's not always these smooth sailing roads where if you just have good vibes and you think about it, it's going to go great. Like it's going to be hard and it's going to be work, but keep your eye on the prize. Definitely law of attraction, but never ever stop putting in that work to get it.
Yeah. It's got to be a combination.
Yeah.
100%.
But it's funny that you say that, because I was going through, I have the 5-minute gratitude journal.
Yeah.
And I just because even me right now, like struggling, like from like leaving the show, like you got to get your routine back and you got to get your head back, and you're like finding like your spaces. Like it's even difficult leaving the show and then getting back to yourself. So I'm getting back to the things that I talk about. And I was going through my gratitude journal, and there's one where it says, what is it? Like what is the word that I'm wearing? Not like aspiration. What is it? Like the affirmation. Yes. Your daily affirmation. That's it. Sorry. I totally had a brain fart. And I had wrote in this journal probably 50 times, I'm going to be on Big Brother. I'm going to be on Big Brother. I'm going to be on Big Brother. And, like, obviously I had to work for it, but yeah, I put that,
Absolutely.
put that shit out into the universe and then go for it and make it happen.
Exactly. Like you weren't going to write it down and then somebody was going to be like, I'm going to cast that lady over there. Like you know what I mean? In the grocery store and you got discovered. Like you had to audition and try for it and all the things that get you on the show. But yes, you have to figure out what you want, tell the world that you want it, and then go make it happen.
And then go for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, get ready. Awkward Chair Dancing is about to commence.
All right.
All right, everybody ready?
We ready.
And go. The whole time.
I almost wanted to get up and start twerking, but I didn't.
I love that. That's supposed to play us out, but then we always keep talking after. That's supposed to be our ending.
I don't even care.
We're like, anyway, people are either used to us by now or stopped listening long ago. So
exactly.
Anybody who's still listening, bye.
Bye.